Live from New York. It's the show that, for just one day, is without Kevin Wildes because he had to go on a mission down to Miami to bail social media producer Gianna out of jail after she fought Indiana fans last night at the game. It's first things first.
The U is back.
But we do start with an awesome game culminating an unbelievable season. There's that signature moment.
No doubt.
Fernando Mendoza, Curt Cignetti, and the Hoosiers took down the Hurricanes last night, 27-21. Miami didn't win, they did cover. Indiana wins its first ever national championship in just an all-time improbable run. Hoosiers finish undefeated, hoist the trophy, longer than 100-1 preseason odds. Yeah. Everybody thought it wasn't possible, for the record. They are also our first new champion, Brew, in nearly 30 years. And those previous three new champions at least had somewhat storied football histories, unlike Indiana. Brew, what was your biggest takeaway from last night?
Well, when I think about the game, and maybe everybody will say this, but obviously that run by Mendoza.
Signature moment.
Yeah,
exactly.
The
defense rests.
Danny was the first to that.
Obviously.
You were the first to know that.
Yeah, first to say that.
First of all, he encounters his first defender at the line of scrimmage. I mean, so he avoid. You see this? That's 4 yards from the first down. He encounters him, then meets two other guys at the 5-6 yard line, spins. And then, to Danny's signature moment, dives into the end zone surrounded by three Hurricanes defenders. He ran that like he was a Heisman Trophy winning halfback instead of a quarterback. All right, so you got to give him props on that. I mean, it was a good play call, great play call, but if he doesn't run it in spectacular fashion, it may not work. So number one is that. But also the fact that Cignetti decided to go. It was 4th and 4. It's an easy field goal. You would have went up 6, 20-14 by just kicking the field goal. He decides to go for the score, and obviously it works. But if because think about it. If he kicks the field goal, they're up 6. Miami went right down and scored. Miami would have been up a point. They already seem to have some momentum going for them. If they take the lead late in the game, they may win that game. And so that play, for the fact that the way Mendoza ran it, the fact that it was called on 4th and 4, that's what I remember in terms of that actual game. We'll get to the
bigger picture,
the momentum, the moment.
To put it like that, signature coaching moment for Cignetti.
Yeah.
Signature
one
moment
of many. Yes.
But the big picture stuff for Indiana, it's hard to divorce yourself from it, but we will talk about it in a second. So just from the game, it was a continuation of maybe the most remarkable part of what Indiana has done all year, which is they don't make mistakes. Like, it is just so apparent how disciplined, how veteran, how well coached they are, that while that game was close and while Miami did seem to get some of the momentum back and Miami was very impressive and Miami did cover, that was still another wire-to-wire win for Indiana. They never trailed. And if you just look at some of the things that would show discipline, it was a game of no giveaways, no snaps trailing, an incredible conversion rate in clutch spots, 3rd and 4th down, and only 5 penalties for less than 40 yards. And if you extrapolate that out to the playoffs, they had no giveaways for the entire playoff run. They didn't trail for a single snap of the playoff run, and only 11 penalties in 3 games. So we will talk about Mendoza and the number 1 pick and the historic turnaround, but coaching matters so much in football. It matters so much in college football. For them to be able to be that disciplined that consistently was just remarkable.
Well, so let me expand on that point, and then I want to give Miami some credit. So, Dust, you can run through all 3 of my graphics. I mean, they never lost the turnover battle all season. All year.
Yeah, they only lost fumble rates, but week 1.
They went the entire season without losing the turnover battle. You just mentioned, never trailing. They never trailed on the run to the title in their 3-game playoff, Alabama in 2-game playoff. You know, so one of only 2 teams since there has been something of a playoff. And keep in mind, prior to a couple of years ago, all of the champions only had to play 2 games. They, of course, played 3. And then for the, historic context of the team, Heisman and national title Heisman Trophy and national title this century, it's 5 iconic teams. And, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, the greatest team ever, the 2019 LSU team. And I think a lot of people's opinion, the greatest single season in college football ever, 2010 Cam Newton. That Jameis team is unbelievable. We know how good the USC with Leinart and Reggie Bush, that team was, which to me makes what Miami did in the loss so impressive. Because you're right, Indiana never makes mistakes. But they made one, the false start.
Yeah.
And that false start, and then Curt Cignetti, for the first time all game, I thought, lost his mettle just a little bit because late in the game, he didn't go for the 4th down. He did kick the field goal. And all of us, I was shocked he kicked that field goal. I thought they're going to go for it. They've picked up 2 of these already. They're going to win the game. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh man, up 6, Carson Beck getting the ball, and Miami starts moving it. And then Carson Beck makes the one bad throw. But a Miami team that was the last team in the field, that a lot of people thought shouldn't have been in the field, thought Notre Dame should have been in it, to go to Texas A&M and beat them, then to beat Ohio State by 10, the way they did, beat Ole Miss in the Classic, and take haymakers from Indiana. I mean, there was a blocked punt touchdown in this game.
Yep.
Miami is the one that missed the field goal in this game. And despite all that, they have the ball with time, with a chance to win. I just thought it showed the growth of Miami over the course of the year, because we're going to talk about Indiana as, one of the greatest teams certainly of the last few years, which then gets to the bigger story, Brew, which is I do not think a turnaround like this can be compared to anything in pro sports. To me, I don't know if you can, because pro sports in theory, everyone's on a somewhat even playing field.
Yeah.
You all, the draft, whatever it is. I have thought all day, is there like the counterintuitive take? Like, actually, it's not the greatest turn. It, to me, is quite obviously the most shocking, immediate turnaround to the championship level I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The things I came up with, I was like, turnarounds or Cinderella stories. I thought about Villanova beating Patrick Ewing in 1985, or even Phi Slamma Jamma losing to NC State in '83, I think it was. The thing is, those teams, Villanova and NC State, are established programs, and we're pretty good. NC State was a top 20 team. Villanova's in the Big East, had played Georgetown a few times. Those were huge upsets, but I don't think they compare to this at all. And, I mean, the only thing I can think of in sports is something like the Miracle on Ice.
That's what Mark Cuban said after the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the only thing that's comparable. I've never – now, look, some people might try to take away from it because it likely would not be possible without the NIL and the portal, which we're in a new era. But still, I mean, you're talking about – going into this season, Indiana football had lost more games than any other program in football history. They hadn't finished in the top 10 before Cignetti got there 2 years ago since 1967. And he immediately turns them around, not with a bunch of 5-star recruits or guys from the portal, like a bunch of
guys from the portal or from James Madison.
Right. I mean, which you don't expect James Madison to come in and start winning at the higher level. And Mendoza said it last night after the game when he was interviewed on the field. He was a 2-star recruit in high school. And so, yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable what he's done. And you said it. Coaching is so important in football, and he's proof, like he's exhibit A to the power of coaching in the sport of football. So, yeah, I would agree with you, Nick.
Yeah, listen, I think some people have compared it to Bill Snyder at K-State. Sometimes when programs go up a level and then become competitive and even like make a bowl game, it's like, wow, what an incredible thing, just because of there is a JV varsity level to all these different levels of college sports. But what I was thinking about was when Kevin Garnett yelled, like, anything's possible. Like, it's the type of thing and the type of moment that just has to make you recalibrate everything in your mind that you thought you knew about sports. Like, we went to Syracuse. It's now on the board Syracuse football could win the national championship.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Syracuse football's got a much better history than Indiana. It's on the board for Hawaii. It's on the board for, I said it's on the board for UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City, men's basketball to win the tournament. Like, it all feels possible.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when the Cubs won the World Series, it was like, okay, any drought can be broken. When Luka got traded, it was like, oh, well, I guess any trade can happen. Right, sure. It took a crazy person and rules changes. Like, yes, a ton of stars need to align. But the story felt like a mind-opening experience, which would be like, oh yeah, I guess anybody can win.
Here's my other takeaway, and this isn't to be negative at something someone didn't do. But what Curt Cignetti just did is what I think some people dreamed was what Deion was going to do. Like, Deion goes to Colorado, which had been bad, but was not his story. Colorado's got a history, had not been as bad as Indiana.
Sure. No.
And the fact that from year one and then to year two, it's like, wow, look at the strides. You got them where it's like, oh, maybe they could possibly tie for the conference and then make the playoff. Like, that was a discussion. And that, by the way, was an amazing accomplishment. Like, he deserves credit for that. I'm not taking anything away from it. But it would have been, I maybe said it wrong in the beginning, it would have been farcical if when Deion got there, someone went on TV, and Deion's got a lot of supporters on TV, and was like, so here's what's going to happen. They're going to go 11-1 his first year, and the next year, they'll win the national championship. And you know why? It's not because they have the most stacked roster. He's going to take a bunch of his kids from Jackson State, a couple key portal guys, and his coaching's going to do it. Everyone would have said, you're out of your mind. Right. And it's what this guy did. Yep. Like, and Mendoza deserves credit. Obviously, they have good players, and they're older players, which helps a bit. But it's what he did. It's really remarkable. Now, the other reason they do it is they have the guy who's probably, almost assuredly, going to be the number one pick of the draft. And the team with that number one pick, the Raiders, had all their brass there to watch Fernando Mendoza. Tom Brady, John Spytek, owner Mark Davis, all in attendance. They, of course, do have the number one pick of the draft. Here's a list, by the way. Get your reading glasses on, Brew. Raiders starting quarterbacks in the last 4 years.
That's too many.
That's 9 of them in the last 4 years.
Wow.
I think it's pretty clear Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first player taken in this draft, Danny. Yeah. Should the Raiders keep that pick, or should they trade it for a bounty of picks?
So I expect them to keep it. He strikes me as the type of guy that Tom Brady would love to have a say in drafting and molding into being a winner and all of that. And a Cignetti-Mendoza package deal is something that I would at least be interested in exploring if I was the Raiders, if you're going to draft Mendoza. Like, keeping them together would be something that I would be very intrigued by. But as someone who is a fan of the team that most recently pulled off the trade for the number one pick, I do think trading the number one pick for a haul is almost always the right move if you have any doubt about the quarterback. And most of the draft people seem to think Mendoza is going to be the number one pick, a lot because of Mendoza, but partly because of the quarterback class. That he is not a Drake May level athlete, that he is not a natural talent like Caleb, that there are some questions about Mendoza's ceiling in the pros, that he's more of like a Jared Goff-like prospect. Smart, winner, big, accurate, but has a few.
And by the way, if the Jared Goff-like prospect turned into Jared Goff, you'd turn the card in right now.
I agree with you, but I'm just talking about the draft, the draft profile from the people that I've read at this point on Mendoza, that there are some questions about it. So just to remind people what the Bears did when they traded the number one pick in the Bryce Young, it was a first-round pick. That was Bryce Young. They took the 9th overall pick, Darnell Wright. He's their all-pro right tackle. 2nd round pick, Tyreek Stevenson, starting corner. The 1st round pick next year, now they got lucky, turned into the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. 2nd round pick, Luther Burden, and DJ Moore.
Can I just real quick before you go, Brew? As great as that all sounds, if Carolina wasn't quite as bad the next year, and instead of getting Caleb Williams, they got all those players plus the 6th overall pick, and we're still starting Justin Fields.
Right.
Well, I feel, you know what I mean?
But you maybe take J.J. McCarthy, you maybe take Bo Nix.
Yeah, well, J.J. McCarthy feels like a disaster. You know what I'm saying? It just feels like that worked out perfectly because the team you traded it with then gave you back the number 1 pick the following year, which rarely happens.
Also, that draft, people loved Bryce Young.
Yes.
And C.J. Stroud after him. So you would get a lot for the number 1 pick, but this is a draft where there's, like you said, it's viewed as kind of a down quarterback class. So are you going to get as much? I don't know that you'll get that haul because people are like, oh, I want to get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or whatever. So, look, the fact is, you said if there are questions about the quarterback, there always are questions about the quarterback. Caleb was a no-brainer. And we saw it took him 2 years, and we'll see. I mean, we all believe in him now. I'm the last one to really buy into him. But let's see how it is going forward. Plus, he does have a fantastic coach and play caller in Ben Johnson. Trevor, it has taken 5 years, maybe, right? If he's finally arrived, he was also absolute no-brainer, generational talent. Took him 5 years. People loved. You showed the board, Nick. Yeah. Jameis Winston. Everybody loved Jameis Winston.
Yep.
Didn't pan out. So it is always a question mark with the quarterback. What I do, look, and I'm not saying he's a sure thing. Physically, he's big, which you like. He's got decent athleticism. I mean, he's not a great athlete, but he showed some athleticism, obviously, on that run.
Very tough.
See, what I think he has, and this is where you might be about Brady, the intangibles. He's got the toughness, as he showed. He's got heart. He's a leader. He's smart and intelligent. He processes quickly. Like, he has we know at the NFL level, it's up here. That's how Brady succeeded and became so great. Like, so he seems to have those things, more intangibles than the tangibles, plus the accuracy is great. And so I think they need to take, because even if they get, to your point, a bounty, but don't end up getting a quarterback in the next 3 years, that bounty is somewhat limited. We're seeing some teams with guys right now in the Final Four that we didn't think were necessarily great quarterbacks. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but ideally you want to get a guy that is your quarterback for the next 10 years. So I would draft Mendoza if I'm the Raiders.
The Raiders, maybe their kind of insurance plan on if they were to trade the pick is we don't need who we trade the pick to give us the number 1 pick. We're going to have the number 1 pick again next year if we are trading. Maybe that you also trade Max Crosby. You do a full true teardown. But Brew, can I just tell you what's happening here? Why Danny is trying to encourage the Raiders to move that pick. Danny watched football this weekend, playoff football, and saw Bo Nix play. And then he watched playoff football last night and saw Fernando Mendoza play. He's like, if Mendoza goes to the AFC West, Herbert is officially the worst playoff performer of all the quarterbacks there. We've seen that's what he's trying to avoid. That is what he is trying. He's like, I can't have it. All right, let's go.
What an outrageous take by you.
Well, I don't know. I mean, has he ever played a game as well as Nix for Mendoza in the playoffs in the last 72 hours? I haven't seen it. Ending in Buffalo, they're moving on from Sean McDermott after 9 years. Some of their players nonplussed. We oddly haven't heard from Josh Allen on it yet.
Still waiting.
We have heard from Jordan Phillips, who said, this bleep here is so stupid, honestly sickening. Best coach I've ever been around. Brew, what do you think the chances are that the Bills end up regretting firing Sean McDermott?
Look, as I've said, it's always a risk when you get rid of a very good coach, all right?
That record is crazy. 98-50 is a crazy record.
Yeah, no, look, he's been, and remember, that's a team that I think had made the playoffs once in 17 years before he got there?
No, once in 17 years before Josh Allen got there, and it was the year with McDermott. They were on a 16-year drought
when he was hired.
And then McDermott broke it.
So, but that said, I think the only way you could regret this is, one, if Josh Allen isn't who we think he is, or two, if you believe Sean McDermott eventually was going to win a Super Bowl. And I think 9 years, 8 years with Josh Allen, we saw enough evidence, the way his defenses gave up 33 points a game in the playoffs, the way they not only lost to the Chiefs, but they lost to the Bengals. Still, there's no way they should have gotten blown out in that game, and then just losing to Bo Nix. So I don't think there was enough evidence to think you're going to win a Super Bowl with him. My point is that if they bring in a solid coach and Josh Allen is who we think they are, they should remain a perennial playoff contender. Now, they may not get past where McDermott got you, but if he wasn't going to get you past there, then you didn't lose anything and you had to take a shot to get over the hump.
Is there not a concern for you? Because I understand everything you're saying, but both you and I think, thought 96 hours ago, we all thought they could win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
And during the Broncos game, into overtime of the Broncos game, we thought they could win the Super Bowl. The concern, the way they would regret this, I would imagine, Danny, would be, the concern is you hire a dope. And I know that sounds rude. Just hire a guy who's just like that. He actually, his floor is so much lower that even though you have Josh Allen, he is an impediment to winning. And after 2 years, you are hiring a coach again, and now Josh is 32. Like, that would be for Baltimore or Buffalo, my concern would be, what if I just hire, if I'm not going to go with Mike McCarthy, you know what I mean? Like known quantity, whatever level it is, that I'm going to just hire.
Because everybody at the very least is an unknown.
Unknown, exactly right.
So I think that's obviously on the board, though I would think how attractive this job opening is that you'd be able to hire a pretty accomplished person to take the job, and you would kind of know that person's warts. I'll be surprised if this is a first-time head coach that gets this job. The one other scenario
Really?
Here, I'd be surprised.
So you think it's going to be Dable?
Yeah, I think Dable is the favorite there.
Yeah.
But the one other scenario is there a power vacuum in Buffalo and the wrong guy won it in Brandon Beane? Like, I thought that if you fired McDermott, you were firing Brandon Beane.
Instead, he got promoted.
And instead, he got promoted. And I don't know if you guys saw this. This was locally reported. Vic Carucci, longtime NFL guy out of Buffalo, WGR. I'm told that during a meeting held 5 weeks ago between McDermott, Beane, and Pegula, the owner, the coach pointed out that the roster lacked to win a Super Bowl. I don't know the specifics McDermott mentioned, but I'm told neither Beane nor Pegula was pleased with McDermott's assessment. So if the coach is giving feedback to the owner that says we've got holes on the roster that make us not likely to win a Super Bowl, and then the team gets eliminated and the owner fires the coach and promotes the GM, that feels dysfunctional if you're not willing to hear negative feedback. So if you just promoted the wrong guy and empowered him to then hire a guy who, to your point, might end up being the wrong guy, that's a way that you could backslide organizationally.
Can I throw out who I think they should call? I think they should call Bill Belichick. And I think they should hope that his girlfriend doesn't like the snow and that they can be long distance for the football season and he can be back to being Bill Belichick and be like, hey, man, 3 years.
Oh, so you're saying, okay.
Hire
that the girlfriend doesn't go.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that you catch Don Shula, the chip on your shoulder of, look at the Patriots now without you. You get to compete with them. I still think you can coach up defense. The roster, you don't have to worry about the roster. Right or wrong, Brandon Beane's got the roster. And
is Belichick willing to go with that?
I mean, at this point, if you're Belichick, it's the last house on the left, and it's the house with Josh Allen as the quarterback. Like, if you want,
Bill would take the job.
I think this is one job he would take, like with no strings attached. And I don't think Brian Dable's a better NFL head coach than Bill Belichick. I just don't.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, he's 73 years old. It just went poorly at North Carolina.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.